So, hey, everybody, we are here with another recording for our little podcast here on Spinalpedia. And about last year, I did a shout out asking for people to share their story. And I was circling back earlier this month and I remembered Paul LaCorte. He's a musician. And it's not very often that you run into someone who is in a wheelchair on stage. And I thought, well, that might be interesting. So, Paul agreed to talk with me today. So, hey, Paul, welcome.
Yeah, hi, how's it going?
Very good, very good. It's so let's kind of start with just like the basics. I'm sure people want to know like where you're from, your age, and your level of injury. So can you share that with us?
Yeah, of course. So originally I was born in Hollister, well, born in Monterey, California. Then we moved over to, or I went back home to Hollister, so it's a small town.
Okay.
We were really involved with the community and knew a lot of people, and so when the accident did happen, it was a good support system to have.
Okay.
I got in my accident in 2004. I
Okay.
had just graduated college or graduated high school, and I was moving back to or moved down to Arizona
Oh,
to go to school. And I was going to Universal Technical Institute to be a mechanic.
cool.
And I'd only been away for about 4 months when I decided to head back home to the county fair. And it's like a 10-hour drive. Um, and I was working a full-time or part-time job. So stayed up pretty late the night before and then went to work first thing in the morning and then went to school. And then it was, 8 p.m. and we're like, all right, let's go. Drive 10 hours down to California. And I made it 9 hours. And
Oh,
it was a mix between falling asleep at the wheel. And I had a friend in the back seat and a friend in the front seat in like a cab and a half truck. And I had my arm on the seat and was looking back, talking to my buddy, and I hit a road cone. The inside shoulder, there was no shoulder. They were doing
oh,
construction. So there was a bunch of road cones. I hit one of those that went into the car, and that startled me because, I was looking back and going 80 miles an hour. So,
dang it.
yeah,
Was it one of those things where it happened so fast it felt like you were in a movie kind of thing?
yeah.
Okay.
And to be honest, it was for many years. I still am not sure if I remember the whole thing or because I had a
Yeah.
So when the truck rolled, my head went through the windshield and then I went out the driver's side window
Oh my God.
as it rolled over. So
You're lucky you didn't get a brain
um
injury on top of that, really,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So or break my neck and
You know
everyone's
that.
like, well,
Yeah.
were you buckled? And I was like, no, but if I was buckled, I would either have a broken neck or I'd be dead because the headrest of the truck was squished all the way down onto the seat
Yep.
and my seat was leaned all the way back. And I
Mhm.
had two like big 12-inch subwoofers behind them. So
I remember those days.
yeah,
Yes.
there was nowhere for the seat to go
Wow.
if I would have been in there. So I kind of look at it as being a little bit lucky on the
You were
fact that
lucky. Most of the time,
I got
kids, you should wear your
ejected.
seatbelt. But in your instance, though, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, what do you tell people? Maybe not wear a seatbelt? I have no idea.
Mm.
And
I
that
think I think your odds are better off wearing a seatbelt. So I adamantly wear seatbelts now, and I have my make sure my daughter is always wearing her seatbelts as well. I have
right.
a 6-year-old daughter, and so
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I think she's
yeah,
awesome. I love it. So, but you were 18, so obviously a lot of people get
yeah,
that age. So it's kind of like you get born again in a way. You start your life after you get out of rehab and you have to change all your plans. So I know you said you wanted to do
yes.
auto mechanic stuff. So what did you end up changing to do and what did you think about?
So the reality is, I did the auto mechanic school because I didn't enjoy regular school. I was always out going riding dirt bikes or doing stuff, and so
Yeah.
it kind of
Mhm.
allowed me to shift my life and say, okay, now I have another opportunity. I need to go back to school. I need to get into a regular college, get a degree, and use my brain as much as I can to
Ooh,
instead of just using my hands. So
yeah.
it was definitely a hard transition going back home after being gone for 4 months at 18. I was like, why?
You're stuck at home with my parents. They're driving
Yeah,
me crazy. Hey, but at
yeah,
least, I mean, were you able to learn your cares pretty quickly so you didn't like need help, or did it take you a little
yeah.
bit? Yeah.
No, the so I'm very fortunate with my accident. I was a T11
Yeah.
paraplegic.
Hmm.
Um, but I have almost full feeling in my legs.
Wow. Okay.
I could walk a little bit with the walker. My
Yep.
gait's not really good. I spent a lot of years training and doing physical therapy and working
Yeah.
with a trainer and everything. But so being able to care for myself was relatively easy. Basically, the inpatient rehab was like, we can't teach you anything else. You got to go home and live your life. Like, I'm supposed to walk again. I can't go home
Yeah, because
yet.
I'm sure, and I think every situation is relative. If I was in your situation, I think what I'd be wanting was a really good gait. Like I just need to
Yeah,
be able to walk like normal, right? I'm sure that's what
yeah.
you were just wanting so badly, right?
Well, and
Hmm.
at that point, I wasn't able to walk yet.
Yeah.
I was it wasn't until so my last week at inpatient rehab, I was able to start wiggling the toe. And
Hey,
then,
cool.
3 months later, it was a little bit on my foot, and then I was able to kick my leg out.
Ooh.
And then it kind of went up one side and down the other side. But then it kind of stopped. There was, and so throughout my training and working there, I did get a lot of return. I'm also very fortunate with my bowel and bladder. I have
Really
control over that, and I
nice.
don't have to worry about programs, and
So
I'm able
you're,
to shower myself.
would
So
you be an incomplete then, technically? T11
yes,
incomplete, right? Mm-hmm.
I'm. Well, I think my classification was like a Asia. I think when I got out, it was Asia
Right.
C, and I think I'm an E now or something. It's
Asia
like
E.
I
Okay.
think that's what it is. So it's like I can't remember the exact classification. It's been so long since I've done anything with therapists and
Right.
got any kind of
I know. I'm like, I don't know what I am either. I've been paralyzed for
yeah,
almost 30 years and I am. You're very fortunate though to be able to get some return that way. A lot of people don't. So, yeah.
yes,
So, how many years did you do like physical therapy after you were, at home and stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, last year was my 19th year in a wheelchair. And so I just hit the halfway mark of like half my life out of the chair,
Yeah.
half my life in a chair. When I first got back home, I started working with a scalpel acupuncturist, and he had like his own technique that he'd written books about. And I literally went to his place 7 days a week, and I was there for 3 or 4 hours a day.
Ooh.
And he was this little Asian guy from China
Yeah.
and spoke really poor English. And so he was like trying to teach me how to speak Chinese.
Ooh,
And
nice.
I felt like Danielson,
That's so cool. I want
like
to learn how to speak
wax
Chinese.
on. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Did you learn any words from him?
it was so long ago, I it kind of came and gone. But
Okay.
at that point, it was literally I would go in there, he would put
Mhm.
like 30 needles into my scalp in different areas,
Oh
and
my
then
God.
he would
Okay.
throw a walker at me and be like, walk. I was like, this guy's crazy. Like the first time I'm there, I was like, yeah, right, I'm gonna be able to walk. And sure enough, him and another guy that they had in there helped me, and I was able to stand up. And I was like, okay, I'm coming back. I'm a believer,
Wow.
So I spent
Mm.
3, almost 4 months straight going to him almost every day.
Yeah.
And to the point where he was like, okay, it plateaus, there's not much more I could do for you. This is about it. And so
Right.
I
You can't
was
go forever, and see if you don't see a huge improvement after so many months, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
because it was, of course, it was all out of pocket. The insurance wouldn't cover the treatment, and going there 4 hours a day. He cut us a really good deal, but it was still, it was a lot. So
That's tricky, when you decide to live your life after an injury, like how much of my life do I want to dedicate to that, or do I want to just live my life, right? It's kind of tricky.
exactly.
Yeah.
So at that
Mhm.
point, we Project Walk down in Carlsbad was kind of like in their prime of,
Okay.
oh, this is a new method to use. A good friend of mine owned a gym in town, and he's a trainer, and so he went down there with me. We did the Train Your Trainer program,
Cool.
which was a 3-day evaluation course kind of thing where they taught us how to do all the stuff. They sent us home with a book of what to train and stretch and different things to work
What?
on.
Okay. Mm.
And then I would go and work with him 4 days a week at the gym. And then I ended up getting a job at the gym. So I was literally there like 7 days a week. I would work and work out and train with him. And
Okay.
I was in really good shape at that time in my life, which was great.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
what was it, 4 years into it,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I could either admit that I'm in a wheelchair and like maybe this might be how it's going to be forever, or
Yeah.
continue on with this,
Gym life.
strenuous lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
And so also at that point, I was graduating from the community college and I had gotten into a state school. And so I was like, I need to just go live my life, accept it. I'll take all the information I learned about working out and how to keep going with stuff,
Yep.
and I'll do that at a pace, but I'm not going to have this deadline like I need to walk or I need to, something needs to happen or I'm not going to be happy.
Yep.
I was like, I finally accepted after 7 years after my accident. I'm like, okay, I'm in a wheelchair. Like, this is just the way of life now.
You're at 25 years old when you finally realize that. It's wowzers. Wowzers. So what did you study when you went to school? Mhm.
So I took my time because it was, adjusting to life in the chair and
Mhm.
also going to college for the first time. It was like two classes, I passed one of them, and then four classes, passed two of them, and then I got in the full swing of it. And I realized after I took all the communication classes that they offered at the community college that was most likely should be my major because I loved taking all I took all the classes they had to offer. I loved them all. I enjoyed going to class. And so that's what I decided to be my major.
Cool.
And when I
Mhm.
went to California State University of San Bernardino.
All right.
And when I got there, I was well, public relations was my primary.
Yep.
So communications, public relations. And then when I was getting ready to graduate, and I was filling out my paperwork, the counselor's like, "Oh yeah, if you pay $25 more and take this one more class, you can get another degree." Like, sweet.
Yeah.
So I got a double bachelor's and one in public relations and one in mass
That's
communications.
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. I know I have a mass
Yeah.
communications degree too, but I didn't double major or anything. I have a minor in Spanish, which is completely useless.
No, you just got to move to California.
I know. Well, you're right. It is the most popular second language in the country, I guess so. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So that's so cool that you were able to pivot, get a degree. And then so when you got your degree finally, how old were you? Mhm.
I graduated in 2013. I think I was 28. Yeah,
Okay.
because I just turned 38. So
And then
I
were you
was
like, what job did you land? What kind of career did you envision for yourself?
so
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
But also when I was in college, I joined a fraternity.
Oh,
I was part of
no way.
Delta Sigma Phi, and it was a
Fun.
really great experience. And
That's oh man, I
they,
did not know about that. I would have saved time for that interview for us to talk about frat life. Because I mean, was there a lot of other brothers that you had who were also as a disabled person in the frat, or were you kind of the
there
guy?
was
Sure.
there was nobody in the school that I was the only disabled fraternal member in the entire school, which we were a smaller school, but still
Okay.
we had 10 different fraternity or fraternity sorority situations going on there.
Mhm.
Um, there was, I don't know, there was one other girl in one of the other
That's
sororities.
awesome. That's awesome. The thing about
Yeah.
being in a wheelchair, you're kind of like sometimes the only one, but I guess
Yeah.
you seem pretty confident,
I,
which yeah.
I enjoy being the only, being the only one. Like, some other person comes in a wheelchair, like, hey man, this is my territory. Like,
I love that about you. Now, I gotta ask because this is one of the things that we started out with. How I know you're in this band called Honkydonky and the Heartbreakers, right?
correct.
Okay, now it's you and one other individual that's in the band from high school, correct? What's his name? Mhm.
So farther back, Honky
Okay,
Donkey.
yeah,
He likes to remain anonymous and just going by Honky Donkey. But
Honky
his
Okay. Mhm.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I grew up with him from before high school. He was
Okay.
my sister's age, so he's 3 years older than me. And
Oh.
so he was kind of like an older brother, and he was
Mhm.
always in my life and stuff. And so he
Mhm.
was actually one of the only out of the two people that came to visit me. And when I went to the inpatient, I went to Craig Hospital in Colorado, and so it
Yep.
was real. I couldn't
I,
have people come visit me.
right.
I had one friend that lived in Wyoming that came down and saw me for a weekend, and then he came up for a couple of weeks and stayed, hung out and stuff. And he ended up giving me a minivan to use because he had a
Nice.
minivan. And I didn't have
Mhm.
a car because I wrecked my car.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so what ended up happening was I I actually started playing guitar every day after my accident. That was kind of like my therapy. Like I had a guitar when I was younger, never really learned, started in sixth grade, and it never caught on.
Okay.
When I got home, I got an acoustic guitar and I'd go sit out in the garage and I'd literally play it every day until I could play and sing and would have friends over and all this stuff.
Wow.
So it became a
Mhm.
real integral part of my life was performing, getting on stage. I love to be on stage even before my accident was to
Really?
get out there and
Okay.
sing and
Okay.
dance or do whatever stuff. Um,
That's
so
awesome. Were you a theater kid? Like, were you in plays
I
or?
was not
Okay.
I was not in theater.
Mhm.
I did like I was in honor choir when I was in sixth grade.
Okay.
And then it became uncool, to be like, oh, you're in choir? That's not cool.
Yeah,
Which I
singing's
should
not
have
cool.
kept going with it, but
That is awesome. So you have a God-given talent of singing, and then you taught yourself how to play guitar really
yeah.
well right after your injury. How long did it take for you to really feel confident playing the guitar?
So I
Mhm.
I would play for my friends. We would have I had a lot of friends that would come over to my garage and other friends that played guitar and
Cool.
sang. So that really helped my confidence. I didn't actually perform live with my instrument until after. So actually in college, I performed for philanthropy.
Okay.
I got nominated as one of the philanthropy people to raise money, and so I did for
Mhm.
my the talent show. I went out in there. I wrote a song and I played the song and sang it. And it was about the philanthropy, and
Okay.
so that was the first time really performing in front of an audience of people. I was
Great.
like, "Oh, this is awesome! I love,
Is it,
love
do you
it
get like a
rushing it."
high from it? Like when people,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
isn't it?
And it's funny
Mhm.
because it's more of
Mhm.
like a nervous driven adrenaline rush kind of thing where it's like
Mhm.
even after playing hundreds of shows, every time I get on stage, I'm still nervous and I still takes me about one song to get in my zone.
Kind of feel it.
Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. So
Wow. That is so
what ended up
cool.
happening
Mhm.
was I was getting ready to graduate. It was 2012. I was talking to my buddy. He'd just come down. We had some friends from Chile come up and I was showing him around and
Cool.
he's like, you know what, we need to start a band. I was like, we do. And they already called him Honkydonky for some other reasons. And I was like, well, it must be the Heartbreaker. So, and it worked really well. So we did Honkydonky and the Heartbreaker,
I love honky
which
donkeys.
we had a really cool
The hat.
friend of ours who designed these logos. And we got the Donkey Breaker logo, which is out
I
on the
love
back.
it. That's so funny.
So he sent me a list of songs and it was like 6 songs. And I was like, all right, I'm going to practice. And when we get back, we'll start playing with the band.
Okay.
So sure enough, um, graduated, came home, and he was at that point he was getting ready to build a cabin out in the woods. And so we went out and lived in the woods for about 3 months, building a cabin like in tents. And there was no electricity. There was a campfire every day,
Okay.
and the two of us built this massive cabin.
Whatever. Wow.
and
Mhm.
and I would play every day
Mhm.
around the campfire and we would
Okay.
write songs. And so we had our
Oh,
whole list of
mhm.
songs that we wrote together.
Nice. Nice.
And we started just going out to bars and areas and be like, ask the bartender, hey, is it okay if we play today? We got our guitar with us. Can we just play a couple songs? And they're like, sure.
Cool.
And they turn the
Okay,
music
yeah.
off and we just do our couple of jams and everyone loved it. Like, you guys need to play a show. And
Yeah.
so at that point, I took my knowledge from college
Hmm.
and I applied it to how am I going to mass market myself or mass communicate this out? So let's build a website, let's do marketing material, and
Yeah.
basically everything I learned, video editing, all these things, and I applied them to our band. And so it was a really good um, transition to keep going with the stuff I learned. But I gave myself 6 years. I said, if I'm not famous in 6 years, I got to get a real job. I was like, because so here's the funny thing is the college system, I got financial aid, but they had a clause that you couldn't work for, I think it was 2 years, 1 or 2 years after graduating, or you'd have to pay back your student loans. If you weren't able to get a job for that time, then they would write them off.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, well, I can't work.
That's a
It's
good
like,
deal. Wow. Yeah. What kind of deal is that? I wish my college would have offered that. That's amazing. So 6 years pass and
6 years passed.
Mhm.
And so that was 2013. 2016, we recorded our first album.
Okay.
We had played, so just going out to little places and then booking shows.
Yeah.
I think the first year we did like 250 shows,
What? That's a lot.
and
Wow.
just almost every like every other day we were going out and hitting stuff.
Are you
The
going, were you
next
only in California or were you guys going across to other states?
um at that point, 2013,
Mhm.
we were in California, and it was like Southern California to Northern
Fun.
California.
Okay.
Went over to Nevada a couple times.
Cool. Cool.
And then 2014, we ended up going to Nashville
Oh, wow. Okay.
um
Is
twice.
your genre like singer-songwriter, or what would you classify your music?
So the
Mhm.
funny thing is we call our music 100% alcoholic lovemaking music. It's a genre of its own.
Okay.
It's-
Mhm. All right.
and that's based on, it's a little bit of rock, it's a little bit of folk, it's a little bit of country
Okay.
alternative. But
Okay.
yes, it is very singer-songwriter, but it was high energy to really get the people going, and
Dancing.
promote drinking and
Fun.
promote tipping your bartender and having a good time.
Ooh,
That
yeah, that
was
sounds fun.
we designed it all around having a raging fun time and
I love
trying
it.
to steer away from the slower songs. And
Yeah, I always complain. I don't like low music. I like high energy music. Life is too
yeah.
sad. And I don't know if it's because I've been the paralysis thing. I'm like, I can't listen to sad music. Hey, it's gonna put me in a hole. I don't want to get out. So that is great. Do you have like certain musicians that inspired you? Just, I like that. That's, I don't know.
Yeah, growing up, it was, I think, my first.
Mhm.
Well, my parents were really into like 70s and 80s rock music
Cool.
and country.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my first CD was actually Van Halen.
Cool. Yeah.
And then I was really into like Garth Brooks, and then
Yes.
just kind of, I just liked all music. It wasn't really like this one or that one. I never really idolized any one musician, never
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
had posters or anything like that.
That's cool though that you kind of like took like a little bit of all the genres for your band. When you say Honkydonky, I just want to laugh. Like there's something about the name that makes me want to laugh. Where did you guys come up with Honkydonky?
So Honkydonky, it's a funny story.
Mhm.
My buddy, the other guy in the band, we're both friends with a winery owner.
Oh,
One of
okay.
our friends, he's a younger guy, but he's kind of taken over his family business. He owns a winery, and he himself, the younger guy, bought a winery in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other guy in the band went down there to work for a couple months doing the harvest and everything, and they would all call him Waso Burro. Waso
Mm.
Burro, like honky donkey.
Oh,
Because
yes.
he's a white guy,
Mm.
he's a honky, and he's like a donkey because he's always drunk.
Oh my God, that's so I love it.
And
Honkydonky.
it's
There
actually
you
it's
go.
honky
Mhm.
donkey with it's KYKY, like the jelly. So
Yes.
because that's what we promoted.
Oh my God, you guys. I wish I
There's
could
no
see.
E, but
Mhm. So that's pretty great. And so have you ever done a big music festival over the years? What's the biggest show you've done?
um biggest show I played I played by myself.
Mhm.
I got on with Under the Big Sky. It's a music festival that happens here in Montana,
Okay.
and I got invited on stage with another band from Tennessee to kind
Mhm.
of like
Jam out.
jam out with them. Yeah, and
Cool.
there was
Mhm.
probably, I don't know, 600 or 700 people in that audience,
Nice. Nice.
and that was the after party to the big festival.
What?
So
Okay.
we haven't
Mhm.
actually played any big festivals. Um, we've done a lot of smaller shows, and
Yeah.
we changed. We actually were part of we brought the music scene to a different place in California, in Hollister. There, it's a small town.
Yeah.
There wasn't a real big music following. There was like a live band here or there,
Mhm.
and we just like we hit them so hard. We brought in all these different people and started getting a lot of bands coming in.
Yeah.
We made really good relationships with one of our friends who owned. At the time, he owned 3 bars, and he
Cool.
also was a brewer. They made beer. We actually have our picture up on the wall, and he has like these photos of different friends and different people. We're on one of them. We were there making beer for one of our shows. And
It's so cool. There's a few guitarists out there that are pretty big, like Eric Hawk, from that band,
mhm.
Portugal the Man. Yeah, and he plays guitar seated, And
Yep.
since you weren't real, if you played guitar before, Stan, what would you say is like something that was more tricky to learn or get used to as a seated guitarist? Just for anyone listening that may want to play guitar, sit in their wheelchair. Mhm.
Um, there's a couple of interesting things. So one, if you're really active, I don't know about you, but my wheelchair always squeaks when I bounce in it.
Yeah, it squeaks. It's a squeaker.
So there's like an extra noise
I
when
can
you're like
hear it.
bouncing around, right?
Yeah.
And then always, with the acoustic guitar bumping into the chair. But as long as I had a strap on there
Yep, yep.
and it was, up a little bit higher, totally
Mhm.
fine. Definitely a really good core workout when you're moving
I
around
bet
a
it
lot.
is. Yeah.
Um, but just having it on your lap and playing, it's no different than any other
That's awesome.
situation, being not in the chair or in a chair.
Okay.
I
I
would
have a
say the
question. Yeah,
number
go ahead.
one hardest part about being in the chair and
Yeah.
playing live shows is the stages. The stages are not accessible.
I was gonna ask you
None,
that. Yeah. Mhm.
95% of the stages were not, there was no ramp. It was either get out of my chair
Right.
and then hop in, put the chair up there and hop into it, or, it would be like a bigger stair and kind of hop up
Yep,
onto.
yep. You're lucky you can do that though, if you're in a
Yeah.
power chair and like a massively, quadriplegic, that'd be hard to get up those stairs. But yeah, most bars aren't accessible. I imagined you were getting carried up a lot of these places, but
Yeah.
it's worth it, right? I guess. I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
And then I always finish the show with a nice little curb hop off of the stage. And I think the tallest one I jumped off of was like a 3 foot tall stage, and that was
Nice.
pretty intense.
Do you get like a bunch of crazy people that are drinking that just fall in love with you because you're just so cool? I bet you get a lot of people that approach you like you're amazing, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, is it me or is it the chair? Was my music actually good, or you just like me because I'm in the chair? You wanted to talk to me?
Oh, I guess you just gotta
So,
be gracious though and say thank you, of course.
no, definitely, yeah.
So I
And
want to,
women for some
yeah.
reason feel like, oh, I need a seat because I'm at a bar. I'm just going to sit on your lap.
Oh, they do that. And then you're like, hello. Well, that brings me to your personal life. Now, I don't want to get too much into it. We don't have a lot of time left, but you mentioned you had a daughter. So, of course, I have
Yeah.
to ask. Now, you haven't been married, right? So, did you just happen to have
No.
a daughter with an ex-girlfriend kind of thing?
She is my ex now, but
Okay.
we grew up together,
Okay.
next door neighbors to each other.
Oh,
And
okay.
then we had our daughter in 2016, right
Cool.
after I got done.
Mhm.
So, or actually 2016, she got pregnant. Our
Okay.
daughter was born February 2017. So
Okay. Yeah.
we finished recording our album in June, July, August of 2016. And I was like, I need to slow down. I'm gonna have a daughter. I can't be
Yeah.
doing this crazy stuff anymore. I want to
Cool. Was it something that
change
you
my
always
life.
wanted to be? Did you want to be a dad, or was it like, oh shit, I'm
Yes.
nervous? Okay.
No, I
Mhm.
was so excited. So
Cool, cool.
I quit drinking, and I was
What?
like, oh, I'm pregnant too. Like I can't be,
Oh, that's so
out of
cool.
support. So
Mhm.
it was a great experience. I was able to be involved in the whole process, go to all the appointments,
Yep.
and then we just stuff didn't work out for us. And
That happens to so many couples, whether you're in a chair or not, it just isn't sometimes where, but your daughter, what's her name?
so my daughter's name's Wilder,
Wild.
and that's with the Y, so Wilder, and
Ooh.
she's
Mhm.
super awesome. She actually just took her first piano lesson Monday night.
Oh my God.
because I've been playing to her since she was born. You know,
Yeah.
I almost every day I'd get the guitar out and play and sing to her. And then I started buying her instruments whenever I got a chance. So she has like
Yes.
4 guitars
Is
and
she
a
good? Did she do?
keyboard.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing her to learn. I'm letting her
Mhm.
do it on her own pace, and
Mhm.
so she can enjoy it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's really a big thing for me is
Yeah.
that I want her to enjoy it. I want her to do it. I want her to want it,
Yeah.
not to just do it because, oh, my parents said I have to do this, or yeah, I don't want her to resent music.
No,
So
you don't want to push it. Yeah.
she's been singing with me for as long as I can remember.
Love it.
She has a little ukulele, and we would go out before she started kindergarten, right around that time, kindergarten. There was like an open mic night,
Oh.
and it's a real nice group of people, and we would go out, and she would get up on stage with me, and she would have her ukulele, and she would like pretend to play, and she would sing along. And the first song that we sang together that I taught her was You're My Sunshine."
Oh my God.
And so that's like our little jam. And I got some good footage of her and I singing together. And she sings really great now for being, she's
What?
going to be 7 here in February.
That's
But
awesome.
I always tell people, yeah, she's going to be like my Miley. I'll just be like Billy Ray. I have my one hit wonder, and then she's going to be the real
She'll be
star.
my cash cow. She can just like pay my mortgage. Oh my God, that's so funny. Because Billy Ray is not making as much money as Miley anymore. That's for sure. That is so funny. So, as a wheelchair user and a dad, do you have any, you've not been a dad before, so you're only kid, so you probably, can't compare it to if you had been walking, but, do you have any advice or any insight just as a dad who uses a wheelchair? Like if, anyone out there is wanting to be a parent, Mhm.
It's there's some times that are difficult.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to work a little harder sometimes. You know, you guys
Yeah.
not only push yourself, but my daughter loves to ride on my lap. And so I'm like pushing an extra 60, gonna be 70, 80 pounds. I'm like, hey, you get too tall. Um, she also likes to ride on my shoulders,
Oh,
like
that's
when we go to
cute.
like Disneyland. And
You're
so,
lucky you can do that still at that. You're strong. That's cool. Yeah.
and I mean, when she was real little, the
Mhm.
best invention, those backpack kind of things that they sit on, you know,
Yes.
that you could that works super great for as long as that she could ride in there for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's, I mean, it's different. Everyone is gonna have their own
But does
situation.
she ever ask you any
It's gonna be different.
questions like, Daddy, yada,
Oh,
yada, Mhm.
she's super comfortable with wheelchairs.
Yep.
You know, I talked to her a lot about it. She knows. She tells all her friends, "My dad's
That's
in a
what's so
wheelchair,"
cool.
you
She's
know,
raised around it. So she's just like normal to her, right? Yeah.
and it is
Mhm.
she'll look around and realize, oh, there's stairs there, you can't go down there. Or you know, she's looking out the same things I'm looking
It's
for
so
when I'm
sweet.
rolling around. And
Aw.
so that's really cool. And I think it's really good because she'll be, you know, I was never really raised around wheelchairs, and
Neither.
I
Yeah.
think I played around in my grandma's wheelchair for a little while
Mhm.
and was like doing wheelies, and but never really.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing.
um
That's why so many of us have issues once we land in the chair because we have these negative stigmas in our brains, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So your daughter has got a, not that, she just is going to have a really cool insight. I think that's what is great about all parents with disabilities is they're able to give that gift to their children, so
Yep.
it's so cool.
And she's finally getting strong enough that she can almost throw my chair in the back of the truck now. So
Nice.
I'm like, a little bit more. I'll have a full-time helper.
That is so funny, And I know they want to help too. It's like you can't say
Yeah.
no because I've seen little kids are like, "Let me do this." I'm like, "Okay, all right, you got this." So that's amazing. And do you see her a lot? And you guys like split or 50-50 or something like that? Or
Yep. Yeah.
cool.
So we both moved up here in Montana, and we
Okay,
live about 5 minutes apart from each other.
that's nice.
And
Yeah.
then her school's right there, and so she'll spend it kind of goes a couple days here, a couple days there, where it's like,
Okay,
or I'll have her for 3 or 4 days, then she goes to her mom's house for 3 or 4 days. So
perfect.
it's pretty 50-50, but it's just not. I get her every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or it's sometimes I get her, you know, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and
Yeah.
just depending on whatever's going on. So
Wow. You
um,
guys are lucky to be able to get along so well too and do the right
we
thing.
do we
Hmm.
do have a really good working relationship for our daughter. I don't ever, talk bad about her mom, and I make sure that it's important because that goes a long ways. If you're negatively talking about someone's parent
Oh
to
yeah.
them and they're a little kid, they don't understand. They just
They'll
think,
hear
"Oh,
it.
what's wrong with my mom or dad?"
Well, I love that, you
So
guys. So before we part ways, and I'm sure
yes,
I'm going to share all of your social media links directly, but do
okay.
you want to like just share your website right now so people can just remember what you're.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's honkyheart.com, honkyheart.com,
Okay.
that one. And then I also am part of a couple other businesses. Since I moved up here, I partnered with a couple people, but
Yeah.
I have a Life Happens company, which is a business consulting firm.
Cool.
So I help people with small businesses get up and going, marketing, logos, and that
Really?
kind of stuff. And
Awesome.
then
Awesome.
I'm also working with Spirit Keepers Treatment, which is the SKT, and that's a drug and alcohol addiction rehabilitation
Cool.
program that we're putting together. And
That's so
it's
cool.
based mainly, my partner is a Native American,
Yeah.
Indian, Blackfeet Native.
Awesome.
And then I
Awesome.
have another company called The Last Blessed Place.
Yeah.
It's a what? Oh, why is it
Why does it do
blurred
that?
out?
Is it
I
a
don't know.
Zoom thing? That is so annoying.
Let me see here right now. So
Oh,
that's the logo. It's
the
the state of
last.
Montana blessed place
Oh, I love it.
because they're,
Yeah.
and so we have a website where you can go on there. We have a bunch of different, I think I have like 8,000 different products that you can choose
Okay.
from. And
We're gonna add that link so everyone can check it out. We'll talk. Maybe we should have you on again, but I hope to see you guys tour one day. I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but I would love to see you guys come and do a summer tour somewhere. I'd love to see it.
definitely. Yeah,
But
because I mean, we play at least once a year now.
okay, once a year. I love
Yeah.
it. All right. Well, Zoom's about to, disconnect us. So I just want to have like proper goodbye.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining the
Thank you.
show or whatever you want to call our little podcast. And yeah, good luck with everything this year and we'll keep in touch. Okay.
We also have two new songs that are coming out here.
Really?
So
And what are you on
look
your
out. Yeah.
YouTube? Look for your YouTube or
Uh,
Instagram.
yeah, and also we're on Spotify. We have
Okay.
almost 200,000 streams on Spotify,
Shut
so
up.
we're kicking butt on there. Yeah.
We're gonna add that link too then for sure. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Cool.
I will talk to you
Thank you.
soon. Bye.
Have a good one.
Yep. Thank you.